I would have previewed the 1 seed Texas versus the 4 seed Gonzaga women's basketball game, which will be played in Portland, Oregon, at Moda Center at 9 p.m. Central Time or something like that on ESPN on March 29th. And this is technically a home game for Gonzaga despite being the 4 seed. It's because they're closer in distance, but I know Texas fans travel. And I will go over like some players to keep an eye on in terms of starters and bench players for both of these teams. And it's in no particular order on the points per game. I apologize for that. Just to make it faster, because it doesn't show it on the ESPN app anymore for whatever reason. I'm not going to mention the heights or the positions just to make that faster as well. And I'm going to give out keys to the game for both of these teams in general. So, yeah, now first I'm going to go over Texas. Madison Booker, of course, you have to start with her. I mean, that's the thing. And she's only a freshman, y'all. 16.8 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, 5.1 assists per game, 2.8 turnovers per game, 1.5 steals per game, 2.4 fouls per game, 87.5% on free throws on 152 attempts, 31.1% on threes on 61 attempts. And there's Taylor Jones, 12.4 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game, 0.9 steals per game, 1.9 blocks per game, 1.4 turns per game, 2.6 fouls per game, 0 for 1 on threes, 68.1% on free throws on 141 attempts. And granted, I do not know the injury status on some of these teams here. I just know in particular ones I do, some of them I don't. So Aaliyah Moore, 11.2 points per game, 5.9 rebounds per game, 0.7 turns per game, 0.7 steals per game, 2 fouls per game, 66.2% on free throws on 130 attempts, 38.8% on threes, but that's on 30 attempts. 13 attempts. And there's Shay Hall, or Holly, Holle, 7.4 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 1.1 steals per game, 1.1 turns per game, 0.6 blocks per game, 2 fouls per game, 37.1% on threes on 89 attempts, but 58.5% on free throws on 41 attempts. And it's Shaylee Gonzalez, 9.5 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, 2.6 assists per game, 1.9 turnovers per game, 1.6 steals per game, 1.8 fouls per game, 78.6% on free throws on 28 attempts, 37.7% on threes on 151 attempts. No, that's all the stars. Now, Amina Muhammad, 6.3 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, 0.8 steals per game, 1.2 turnovers per game, 2.2 fouls per game, 56.6% on free throws on 83 attempts, and that's all things I know about her. And Khadijah Faye, Faye, I'm just saying that, 5.6 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 0.7 steals per game, 0.7 blocks per game, 1.6 fouls per game, 77.1% on free throws, and that on 70 attempts, and that's all things to know about that. And Deanna Gaston as well, 8.5 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, 0.6 steals per game, 1.9 blocks per game, 1.4 turns per game, 2 fouls per game, 77.8% on free throws on 45 attempts. So that's all the bench players that Texas used last game. As we all know, they don't have Rory Harmon. I know that. So that's why I didn't even mention her stats or anything like that. Yeah, sure, there's one other player I could mention. It's like, I'm going to have to just spell it out for both first name and last name. Ndjakalenga, Mwenentanda. 3.8 points per game, 0.9 turnovers per game, 1.2 fouls per game, 60.6% on free throws on 33 attempts, 3 for 9 on threes. So that's just to cover my basis in case she does play. And Gonzaga side of things, the first player It's not necessarily their leading scorer by any means. And it's Yvonne Edgem, Yevonne. 19.9 points per game, 8.8 rebounds per game, 2.3 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game, 1 block per game, 1.7 turns per game, 2.5 fouls per game, 80.5% on free throws on 113 attempts, but 1 for 7 on threes, which is 14.3%. Okay, there's Eliza Hollingsworth, 10.4 points per game, 10.2 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, 0.9 steals per game, 0.7 blocks per game, 1.4 turns per game, 1.6 fouls per game, 84.8% on free throws on 66 attempts, 37% on threes on 108 attempts. So she can't shoot threes despite her height in her position. And there's Brianna Maxwell, 14.2 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, 0.9 steals per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.6 fouls per game, 87.4% on free throws on on 95 attempts, 44.5% on threes on 211 attempts. And there's the Truong sisters, which first, or Truong. I apologize if I butchered that. I really do. 11.6 points per game is Kaylin. 2.4 rebounds per game, 5.8 assists per game, 2.5 turnovers per game, 1.3 steals per game, 1.4 fouls per game, 79.2% on threes free throws on 53 attempts, 42.8% on threes on 215 attempts. And there's Kayleigh, Kayleigh, 12.3 points per game, 2.4 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists per game, 1.9 turnovers per game, 1.4 steals per game, 1.6 fouls per game, 81.1% on free throws on 74 attempts, 40.9% on threes on 186 attempts. So that takes care of that. And I'm definitely going to only go over like 2 players that played a lot for Gonzaga last game, and it's Maud. Huge bends, 6 point or Huijbens. I apologize for mispronouncing that. And she's from the Netherlands. If you look it up, 6.4 rebounds. 6.4 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game, 1.1 turns per game, 2.1 fouls per game, 71.1% on free throws on 45 attempts, 40.9% on threes on 22 attempts. And there's Esther Little, which I know she only averages 0.5 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, 1.2 turns per game, 0.9 fouls per game, 3 for 6 on free throws, 2 for 7 on threes on 20. That's 28.6%. And I might as well go over that last part that played last game, and it's Claire O'Connor, which I know she's 1.2 points per game, 0.6 fouls per game, 31.3% on threes on 16 attempts, 3 for 6 on free throws. So obviously you don't know about the officiating because sometimes it could be questionable here, so you gotta play through it. You gotta make plays to win. That's the thing. You gotta rebound the ball while limiting the other team's rebounds both offensively and defensively. You gotta contain the shooters, contain the slashers. You gotta limit your turnovers while forcing turnovers on defense. You gotta get some points in the paint while limiting those. You gotta limit the transition points, the fast break points, and points out turnovers while getting all those. Because as we all know, that could be a difference in the game and all this. You gotta out-hustle the other team. You gotta make adjustments on the fly, both offensively and defensively. Not just from first quarter to second quarter or first half to second half. I'm talking about timeout to timeout, or aka media break, or possession by possession. And you got to make the other team uncomfortable both offensively and defensively. And I know for a fact that Gonzaga can match up with Texas in terms of size. So it's kind of intriguing that way. And it's kind of close home field advantage for Gonzaga. It just ended up that they were going to be in Portland, and we know they play in Spokane. So in Washington, which is closer than Austin when you look at the difference. There. You gotta keep your composure. You don't want to get like technical fouls or flagrant one fouls or flagrant twos. Oh no, you don't. That's another thing you gotta do in this game. You gotta keep your cool, and you gotta stay composed. Don't play too fast, obviously for your own good. I'm just saying, don't go so fast that you make a mistake. That's what I'm saying. In all this, and you gotta get some good shot selection on offense. While of course you want to make it as difficult as possible on defense. So, anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 600 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 more. So, make money out this. Of course, liking the video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithm so more people can see it. Sharing the video does help as well, so more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button for your notification bell as well.